Hola, amigos y amigas. ¿Cómo están? Hello, friends. How are you? I hope everyone's having a beautiful day or evening. Well, we're getting close to December. So, what does that mean? It means it's almost Christmas time. I love Christmas. This is not a Christmas podcast, but I do love Christmas. I love the lights. Um, the simplicity too of not having so many lights. I do. We put two trees up. One is a Disney tree. I have white lights on that one because I like white lights on my Christmas tree, and the other tree is the colored lights because my husband likes colored lights. I like both. It really doesn't matter. So my white tree, the tree is a artificial tree, saving trees out there. That's what I like to do. Anyway, but it is white lights with Disney ornaments, Hallmark ornaments. And then my other tree is a colored tree, and it is full of Hallmark ornaments that I have collected in the years. So, anyway, it's almost that time of year. I haven't put my tree up, but I have many friends. Today is, I don't know what the date is today, the 11th or 12th and of November. And a lot of my friends have already put their trees up. So I'm thinking I might put mine up a little earlier this year. This podcast probably will not air until the end of November, but by the time you hear it, guess what? My tree may be up. And if so, guess what? I will definitely post pictures on Instagram at Ticket to Life 022. Anyway, do you have friends? Do you have girlfriends or boyfriends and friends? That means friends that are boys or men and women who are friends and vice versa. Because um, as an adult, I felt I have many friends. I have one friend that I've kept in touch with. No, we don't talk every day, maybe once a year if we're lucky, but we are there for each other. And that is my friend Cynthia. And we have been friends since high school. And I've mentioned her in the past, and I was known as Hanky, and she was Panky, so that's how they knew us. At least one of our Spanish teachers gave us that name, so it kind of stuck with us, and we've always been there. And there were a few years that we didn't talk or keep in touch, but we finally did. For my 60th birthday, my husband gave me a surprise party, and she was there, and it was so good to see her. So that really helped reconnect us even closer. But those are good friends when you have someone that long from high school and keeping touch. That's awesome. My husband, they traveled a lot and moved around a lot, and he has told me he wish he had that. He wish he had that um, thing where he could have friends from the past, but I think I mentioned he went to elementary school in Australia, then they moved to Florida and then went to school there. And it was just, they started off in New Jersey. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So, friends. Friends are so important to me, and friends become family. I mean, you are there for them, and hopefully they are there for you. Can always tell a friend when you can um, call them in the middle of the night. I've mentioned 3 a.m. friends. I have several 3 a.m. friends that I know that I could call in the middle of the night and they would be there for me. But we're not talking really about close friends. We're talking about frenemies. If you don't know what a frenemy is, that's a person who is friendly to you, but despite a little dislike and rivalry. Have you ever had that friend that it didn't matter what you did? There was always a comment. I have. And still do. So I'm going to tell you some of the stuff about friends and give you a little story about a friend, um, or a frenemy. I'm not sure. I don't know. But these are some of the. I looked it up. Good old Google it, and I found some things about friends, and I thought this is so true. These are so. And if you have any of these traits with friends, you might reconsider that friendship. I'm not saying stop talking to them or anything. Just kind of tweak the friendship. Do you have a friend who is always asking for favors? Like always asking for favors. You y- you could tell them how you're busy, but they know deep inside that you're not going to lie and that you will say yes to them. So if how about if it's someone say, "Oh, I really want to meet this guy, and could you tell him how great I am?" Okay, but you're not that great. I'm not a matchmaker. Or the one where a promotion is coming up. Hey, could you tell them that I'm really the best person for the job because, we're friends? No. Get things on your own. Those are people who ask favors from you all the time. Could be asking for money, and you never get the money back. And if you're kind, like a lot of people are, would say, "Don't worry about it. You don't have to pay me." Okay, we probably should pay them back, but they know they can always go to you because you're so kind. How about the friend who talks behind your back? We've all had those. And then you have the, well, don't say anything. Well, of course, normally someone says something, so wasn't supposed to say this, but um, Anne Marie, don't know any Anne Maries, but if I did, Anne Marie said, uh, not to say anything, but you know what she said about you? Okay. Well, I thought y'all were really good friends. Well, we are maybe, and then you start making excuses for them saying that. And then when you confront that person's like, "Oh, well, I didn't mean it like that. They took it wrong." Okay, whatever. And what about the one that when you have a problem and your problem is like, let's say you have a toothache. And you're feeling miserable and you call this friend and say, "Hey, my tooth is really hurting." And they say, "Oh my gosh, there's always something with you. I just need to tell you, my whole mouth hurts because I clench my teeth and my whole jaw hurts. So I know that your tooth cannot hurt as bad as my mouth." And you're like, "Okay, you're right. You beat me again at the pain problem." Or there's so many signs, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, a lot of my friends do this." So now I guess I need to rethink a lot of my friendships. Uh, or if you just don't feel good and they say, "Oh, well, I don't feel good either. I bet you I feel worse than you." Okay, you're right. Um, what about when you're emotional and you're just upset about something and you need that person to talk to? You need them to talk to because you're upset that something's happened in your personal life or, at work or your immediate family or something. And they listen and they go, "Well, it could be worse." And you're thinking that that's bad. Well, you know what happened to me the other day? And then they go off on telling you about something that could be true and something could not. And it's kind of sad to think that there are people like that. But eh, I don't understand because I don't think that's what friendship's about. Friendship is about being together and being able to go to one another. Um, and let me see. What about when you do something great? Let's say you got a promotion or a new car, some accomplishment, and then instead of really be happy for you, they say, "Oh, well, I was gonna get that car, but I heard it was a really bad car. It wasn't a very good car at all." Or, "Oh, I got a new car like that 6 months ago, but I didn't like it, so I just traded it in and I got my old car back." Okay, we see this is not happening. It's crazy. Or I had, one friend was like, "Oh, I just finished that book." "You did? It took you that long to finish that book?" Um, it was 600 pages. And they look at you and go, "I read it in 3 days." And then you remember, "Hey, wait, you're dyslexic. How did you read it in 3 days?" I guess that's, possible, and this is nothing towards people with dyslexia at all because I know I have a little bit of dyslexia too. But those are just people like that, and then there's the passive aggressive kind, like, "Oh, your apartment is so cute, but it's so little. I just couldn't live in such a small space." I've had people say that. "Your house, oh, you've got such a cute little house." Well, at least I have a house. And then you want to go, "Hello, you're living with your parents or your in laws." So So people are always making comments about something, but they don't consider what they're talking about. Well, I'm saving to get a big house. Okay, whatever. And then there's always the criticism. The criticism as to about your life, the way you dress, your partner, your job, etc., etc. Um, where they make comments that are hurtful and say, "Oh, why did you get your haircut like that?" I mean, it's cute and everything. I'm just used to your hair being long, I guess. Because guess what? That's what people will say. Or they joke about something which you know is very hurtful. They know it's hurtful. Excuse me. They know it's hurtful. And of course, that's why they make a joke. Let's say something about, I don't know, your face. And oh, well, that eyeshadow it's okay. It's pretty. But and you make a face like, "Really?" And they go, "Oh, I'm just kidding. It looks great on you." Okay, thanks. So I think we need to be cautious. It's crazy to think that you have to be cautious to pick your friends, but friends can be a little bit of negative energy. Um, Friendship always makes you want to ask. No, what I'm trying to say is friends. This kind of friendship always wants to make you ask, why are we friends? She makes me feel down on myself. She never seems to have anything positive to say. And if it is, then she catches herself and corrects herself and says, "Oh, I'm just joking." Those are the people you really need to kind of think about having in your life. I don't know why people are like that. And then sometimes you have the friend that no matter what, everything goes their way. As hard as you try in life, everything just seems to go on their way. It's like, or at least they make you want to believe it goes their way. A lot of people are just rude and they may keep you around thinking they look better or they are better than you. And I know that sounds horrible and sad to say, but I've seen that. I've sure I have lived that. But as you get older, you get a little bit more wiser. So you just need to be careful with friends and make sure they're friends and not frenemies. And be careful what you tell them, especially if they're a new friend. If they're a new friend and you know that there could be a long time friendship, just be careful what you tell them at first because you're not sure if it's going to be a long time friendship or not. So this could come back and bite you in the ass. Um, and sometimes, especially now with social media, it can be really hurtful if you text something to someone because let's say somebody upset you and you text it to that person, they've got evidence that you said that. Social, that's just a text. That's not really, I guess, social media. But so you have to be really careful with that. Um, I Here's a little story. I, as an adult, and shame on me, uh, had a group of friends, and we would do conference calls. Oh my gosh. Well, one of the girls in the group would go on and on and on and on. And so I thought it'd be funny. So I text the other people in the group and say, "Is she ever going to end? Is she ever going to stop?" Because she would just talk about anything and everything. Again, this is me being an adult. This isn't a teenager. I'm an adult when this happened about 10 years ago. And so then everybody jumped in on that from what I said. I can't believe she said this and she da da da, blah, 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 blah. And then guess what happened? One of the girls got upset with me and one of the other girls in the group. And so she snitched us out. And she said, "Oh, yeah, they're always talking about you. When we're on those conference calls." She said, "They are always texting and saying this and said that about." It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait, you were part of that group. But she didn't include herself in that. course, we did apologize, and we thought, "Oh my gosh, we became mean girls." And you remember the movie Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan? That was a good movie. We did. We became the mean girls because I thought, "Oh, why were we making fun?" Well, it wasn't even that we were making fun of her. It was just like she just went on sometimes longer than what she needed to, but we should have just listened or gotten off the phone. So again, shame on me for doing that. But again, if I do something wrong, I will admit to my faults, um, which a lot of people can't do. And sometimes it's hard to admit to your faults. Back to Friends, there's a movie back in the 90s, I think, and it was called, what is the name of it? It was called something Borrowed. I believe that was the name with oh, geez. Hold on. What did I do with the name? Kate Hudson is in it, and Jennifer Goodwin. John Krasinski's in there from The Office, and Colin Egglesfield, but I'm not sure if he's still an actor. Egglesfield, Egglesfield. But anyway, it's a really good movie, and it's about best friends, and one of them is always Kate Hudson is always one notch above above Jennifer in the movie. And it is the how friends she made her feel bad. She would say things. So, she meets the guy, she takes the guy. So it's a really good movie about friends that you watch it and think these things really do happen. Where, well, you said you didn't like him, so I'm going to date him now, kind of thing, and vice versa. So, again, be careful what you say, what you do. Always watch your back when it comes to certain people. So that's what a frenemy is. You always need to watch your back. So here's my story. And my story, I will give this character a friend of a friend of a friend, and we'll call her Marie because Marie sounds like a good name today. So Marie is always made made fun of her best friend. Always made fun of her best friend. Her friend, Helen, was a tall young lady, tall and slender. She used to bite her nails, but not where they were nubs. She would bite her nails, not where they were, really short and nubby, but she would bite her nails. Now, and when I say tall, she was 5'6". She was about 5'6". Yes, this is a true story. And her friend was 5'3". So she would always make, "Oh my God, you're so tall. You're never going to find anyone. You are never going to fall in love. You are da 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 da, blah, blah, blah." Well, the other one was, and Helen was thin and attractive, and Marie was short and attractive. They were both very attractive young women. Well, this is what I was told, so this is what I'm going with. So later on, this is like happening in college, Marie gets married, and she gets married, and about 2 years later, um, Helen hadn't heard from her, and she wasn't invited to the wedding, and everything just dropped. I mean, she just disappeared. She met the guy, and that's all. That was her world. And it's funny because um, her husband was the same height as Marie was. He wasn't taller or anything, so that was kind of funny. But the husband or the boyfriend at that time felt threatened by the friendship. By this lifelong friendship that Helen and Marie had, he was threatened by it, and so little by little, she just stopped talking to her, and that was it. And I know when you first fall in love, you do tend to spend more time with the person you're falling in love with. But anyway, so all of a sudden, Helen isn't hearing from Marie anymore. So she said about 2 years later, her phone rings, and it is Marie. Now, this is Helen. Her phone rings, and it's Marie. And Marie is calling, and she's boo-hoo-hooing, and she's crying, and she's apologizing, and "I'm so sorry. I love you, and I can't believe I, turned on you on my friendship." And so Helen is just like, "Well, okay, what's going on? Are you in jail? What's going on?" Well, no, her marriage was not doing well. So, when you need to call that friend that you always depended on, she's going to pick up the phone. So Helen says, "Well, do you want me to come pick you up?" So she picks her up. They meet somewhere because uh, Marie and her husband only had one car and he was at work or whatever. So Helen picks her up. They go out and they talk. And then she drops her off and she says, "I'll call you next week." He doesn't, I mean, if he knew I was talking to you, and I was like, oh my gosh, well, I'm not sure about that relationship. But anyway, Helen says, okay. So she calls her, and I think the next day, and says, "Thank you. Don't, you're the best. I will call you next week and we're going to start getting together." Well, that call never came. Basically, she needed a shoulder to cry on, and Helen was there, and Helen was a sucker. No, Helen wasn't a sucker. It sounds like she was just a very nice person and just did what she did. Because that's what you do. You have a friend that calls you and they're bawling. Of course, you're going to help them out. At least I would think we are. Well, she never calls her, never hears from her, not even on uh, social media. She's looked her up just to be like we all look people up. And but she is divorced now, not Helen, Marie. So it's like, oh well, that's kind of sad. And she did say one more thing. Helen said that she had always thought that if she had a son, she would name her son Jason. So, you mention this to people in passing before you're married and you're pregnant and whatever. Well, guess what Marie's son's name is? It's Jason. I just thought that was hilarious. Well, Marie decided not to go with that name for her sons or one of her sons. So it turned out that, I mean, not Marie, Helen. Helen decided not to go with that name even before she knew that. So it's just kind of weird how people do that. They remember that. Oh, I love the name Jason because that's the name that my friend was going to use. It's like, whatever. But this is just a quick little podcast on frenemies, and just be careful who your friends are because you might turn around and your back will be hurting, and hopefully it's not too sharp of a knife. Again, this is just my opinion. I have some wonderful friends that I would trust my life with. And my best friend is, well, I have several best friends. I have my daughter's my best friend. My sisters are my best friends. My husband's my best friend. Terry's my best friend. There's Liz. There's Cynthia, my bestest friend. So it's really nice to have a different group of friends. And anyway, I hope you have some really good friends that you do not ever consider a frenemy. And if you do, you might want to say, bye. See you later. This is Henry, and thank you for listening. And I hope you have a wonderful 24 hours. And find your blessings. I'm sure it's some really good friends that are not frenemies. Until later, thanks for listening.